Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I'm absolutely thrilled that you are here. My name is Billy Dees, and I'm here today for the fine people at HumorOutcasts.com. If you haven't had a chance yet, do check out that website. New content pretty much every day. And we want to say hi to Donna Kavanaugh. She's the main person over there. And HumorOutcast.com. There's kind of like an umbrella there. There's a couple of different publishers, including HO Press, Shore House Books, Corner Office Books, any number of them. They have some great authors. And speaking of which, one of the people that's in that wheelhouse is Lee Gaitan. Lee, welcome to the program.
Hey, Billy, how are you?
Absolutely great. It's great to have you again. You were on the program, has it been about 2 years ago now?
I think about 2. Oh, and last year doesn't count, so nobody aged last year. My birthday is in about 2 weeks, I think, or maybe 10 days. I don't know. But I feel like I shouldn't really get a year older because last year was canceled. And so
it was.
I feel like that should be credited to us for our age.
And I hope that hopefully there won't be any more cancellations. We're not out of the woods yet.
No, we're certainly not. I wouldn't mind having the years taken away off my age, but no. Let's well, I'm sitting here fully vaccinated, so yes. I will not pass anything to you except humor and good wishes.
Well, you'll be happy to know that I have the mark of the beast as well. So I'm in good shape. No problem.
All right.
All right. Let me tell the audience a little bit about you. Lee Gaitan is a multi-award-winning author of 3 books. Her work has been featured in the Huffington Post, Yahoo News, Erma Bombeck Humor Writers Workshop, The Good Men Project, Mother's Always Right, and Bella Grace. So, and you actually have a lot more than that. I typically don't go through lengthy resumes because it puts the audience to sleep. But
exactly. I was kind of nodding off there, Billy.
Yes, you have the cred. We want to establish that.
Street cred, baby.
Yes. And
learning from the man. Yeah.
Her book, and the one we're going to talk about today, My Pineapples Went to Houston, Finding the Humor in My Dashed Hopes, Broken Dreams, and Plans Gone Outrageously Awry.
Indeed.
Now, I got to tell you, you're...
This is the second edition.
Okay.
So, the first one was, I want to say, 2014, December 2013, something.
Okay.
And so this is an updated version, and it has new material added. There's a new second half to it. So the first half is basically the same, and the second half is all new material. So if anyone had the first edition, this is in fact different.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Your message, if I can speak for you, is
Please
that heartbreak, humor, and ultimately hope is kind of what you try to get across.
Yeah.
And I've always admired people who can take diversity or adversity.
Adversity. Well, a diversity of adversity.
Diversity of adversities. Yes.
Yeah.
They have adversity coming at them. They have hardships coming at them, and they always manage somehow to make something positive come out of it, or at least an attitude.
Yeah.
And that seems to be kind of your niche. Is that correct?
I would say, and if you have a niche, scratch it. This is what I always say. I spent 10 years scratching that niche, baby. Yeah. I mean, I talk about that past time as 10 years of shock and awfulness. And it was unrelenting. Just to, quick primer here. My now ex-husband, kind of walked out the door with no warning after quitting his job, starting a business without telling me, losing almost $1 million, $970,000 without telling me. My father died. My mother was in a coma. They thought I had cancer. It goes on and on and on. So he walked out the door and I was really destitute. I mean, it was the point, it just overnight,
Sure.
absolutely overnight, from a, very comfortable life, not jetting around the country in my own private jet or yacht or anything, but,
I gotcha.
comfortable.
Sure.
And we'd been married for 23 years, mid 40s. My daughter had just started college. We'd just built a new house. So not the time to maybe want to go out and do these crazy things. But, you men with your midlife crises.
Yeah.
But, and
I've
women
been,
have them too. Women have them too.
I've been going through a midlife crisis for the last 20 years.
I
so.
know. It's like it's not ending. And anyway, I said it was destitution, really, the next day, to this kind of destitution when you're thinking, can I floss my hair? Can I floss my teeth with a piece of hair? Will that work? Because
Yeah.
I really don't have the money for dental floss this week. So there was destitution, of course, devastation on
Yes.
every level, emotionally. I had to sell everything I owned. I still have a kidney on eBay, if anybody's interested. Yeah, it never went. I don't know why. I'm a non-smoker.
Yeah,
I don't
because
really
they're
drink.
in demand too.
Well, hello. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was
sure.
in good health. But anyway, 10 years of just really unrelenting. Every time, you remember that game Whack-A-Mole, where the moles pop up and
Oh,
you hit
yeah,
them in
sure.
another one. That's what it felt like. Honestly, every time I thought, well, okay, I kind of have this figured out. I've sold everything. I found this tiny little apartment. I have 7 part-time jobs in addition to a regular job, and da 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 da. Then
Yeah.
something out of the blue would happen. So, it was rough.
Now, go ahead. I didn't
No,
interrupt you.
I'm just saying, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
And any one of those things can be challenging, but to be
Yeah.
piled on like that. Now, are you still in Atlanta? Is that your home base?
I am in Atlanta. I ended up staying here. I have been remarried for, we just celebrated 15 years.
Oh, great.
And so there's a happy ending. But I think, people ask me, and maybe you were going to ask me, what's the second edition about? And, the first one was explaining everything that happened and how I kind of got through it day by day and ending on, a hopeful note. But I think a lot of times with these kind of, tales of resilience, or, people go through something difficult and they impart their wisdom that they've learned, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But sometimes it creates a false impression that, and now that the crisis has passed, everything is, 100% wonderful. My life's better than it ever was, and nothing bad will ever maybe that happens to some people. I'm not sure where you sign up for that, but apparently I missed registration day for that one. But, certainly things do get better. But there are always going to be ups and downs. You never know. I think too, even as the person who's going through difficult things, you kind of feel like you have credit in your account that, hey, I
Yeah.
went through this and this and this, so nothing else bad should come my way. But, we don't know that. My
right.
goodness, none of us saw 2020 coming.
No.
And all the implications and continuing into 2021.
Yeah.
We just don't know. So I think what's important is you learn how to survive, thrive, get back up again, use the tools that you learn through that. It's all about building resilience,
Yep.
I think.
Sure.
And I joke, at my birthday coming up at my age, I bounce a lot. If you've ever seen me run to the phone, I bounce a lot. But the thing is, I've learned and am continuing to learn to bounce back. And that's what we have to do.
Yeah. That's a great attitude. Now, you're very busy on top of all that, maintaining, you do speaking, writing, teaching. So what do you do for fun when you're not, what you and your husband, what do you guys do to go out and,
Well,
we're going to go out and have a good time.
Last year, they took away my favorite activities, which are going out. I'm a big goer outer, but I did get to enjoy my another favorite activity, which is reading. I read 16 books, which is seems like a lot, but I have a friend who reads like 10 books a month, and no, I didn't do that. I did get to read 16 books, but for fun, we love to we check out all parks and, hiking kind of things with the dog, always walking with the dog. In summers, we love to swim. We like to go to the beach.
Yeah.
But really, I just love to entertain. That is a big thing for me. So last year, we couldn't have people in. We couldn't see our kids. That was just heartbreaking. We couldn't go out for dinner, which is another favorite thing. And we couldn't I am absolutely addicted to movies. I haven't seen a movie in a movie and I don't like to watch movies at home. I want the whole experience.
Yeah.
And I love sitting in the dark with that anticipation with people I don't know and making little chit chat and small talk. And I don't know, it just seems like an event. And when you're sitting in your pajamas on the couch, it doesn't do it for me. A lot of people like that, but I don't.
Yeah.
So last year was rough, but this year in that little reprieve after my whole family was vaccinated and before Delta really took off, when we kind of thought things were a little bit okay. We were very fortunate after 2 years because we have kids on 3 continents. My second marriage to the good husband.
The current one is always the good one, right?
It's always good to marry a good husband.
Yeah.
I don't know how he describes me. Maybe just the other wife, but he is originally from Colombia. Now he's lived here for 20 some years, but so we have one son. His one son is in Colombia, and we have another son living in Qatar because of his work. Both boys are architects, and because of the jobs, one is in Qatar, one is still back in Bogota, and my daughter that I gave birth to, but I will spare you the stretch marks to prove that. She's in Boston. And so she has 2, little girls, my granddaughters, and Qatar has one little boy and Bogota has a girl. I don't want to say little girl. She's 11 now. So she's big. Okay. She's a teenager, but we got to have everybody come together for 2 weeks in July. And
wow,
it was
nice.
Yeah. It's always nice for us we try to meet once a year, at least with everybody, and then with different parts a couple times during the year. But this, it was so much more, the emotions were much more heightened because after the last year, it really brings into high relief what's really important. And the dental floss, dental floss is important. I was at the dentist yesterday. But if you have to floss with a piece of hair, okay. But your family, wow. When you are on the other side of the globe and your daddy, my husband had COVID last year. The boys were terrified. They're like, what if we never see him again? What if something happens, So that really, at this point in my life, anything with the grandchildren, I'm good. That is the most enjoyable thing for me.
Well, that's great. And you're right. Those experiences are so important. Family is so important. My wife has been married before. I have not. And I didn't get married until I was 49 years old.
She's so brave.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. How set in your ways were? What was she, crazy? Were you like a project?
I don't know. I've been told by some of my girlfriends in the past that I have only child syndrome, and that's probably true. When I put a pen on the desk and I come back the next day, it's exactly where I left it. Yeah. So I was kind of used to that stuff. And I always
moved my cheese.
Yeah. I always joke too that I waited until later in life to get married. That way, until death do us part doesn't take as long. So,
Billy, that's like not even funny.
I get mixed reactions to that.
Was she paid? Was there money exchanged in this marriage?
She should have been, because she's put up with a lot. You kind of covered a little bit about why you wrote the second edition. But I'd be kind of curious. Obviously, some time has gone by. We all change. We all grow. It's just like the saying, nobody can step twice into the same river, because
that's so true.
You're not quite the same person, and the river's not not the same. So what have you learned since the first edition, and maybe did you apply it towards the second, or just in life as a matter of fact?
I've pretty much learned nothing. Yeah. That's kind of how I feel some days. No, I think that it just really, the second part is really reflecting on the good changes that have taken place and reinforcing again how to negotiate, navigate through really tough times. And two things that really helped me that sound hokey, and now they almost sound like truisms because everybody's spouting, oh, gratitude, gratitude.
Yeah.
But it's really true. You really, and someday, that's not to say that there are not days when somebody says, oh, well, you should be grateful. Oh, shut up. I should not be grateful. My whole life has just fallen apart.
Yeah.
You are absolutely permitted to rant and rave and scream and cry and rail against the injustice and the unfairness of it all. In fact, to deny that, I think is false, and I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not authentic. You can't just suppress and push down feelings like that. You need to work through them, however, and it may involve a lot of ice cream. You know,
Yeah.
it happens.
Sure.
But then the thing is, but you don't stay there. And it may be, you know, it's not linear all the time for everybody. It may be in loops. You know, you circle back around to something. You think you're taking 3 steps forward, and something happens, and you take a little step backwards, and then you continue to move on. So really helping, what helped me a lot was seeing all of the small ways that life was still giving me something to hang on to.
Sure.
Even sometimes it was minute by minute, you know, if it was a few kind words or encouraging words from someone when I felt like there was nothing, or, you know, a $5 coupon was like, oh, thank you so much, you know,
Yeah.
anything like that. And step by step, little by little, I think you start to rebuild your faith and your trust. And when your attitude changes, it's amazing how it seems like
Everybody
things
else.
out there change, but I think it's really a lot of it's coming from within. You know, what you're giving out starts coming back to you. And for me, and maybe not, you know, for everyone, but for me, obviously, as a humor writer, this wasn't exactly what I had planned for a humor book.
Sure.
But humor is very important. Very
Yeah.
important to in an emotional, mental, but physical. You know, it releases stress. It changes a little bit of your brain chemistry, your biochemistry. You know, those feel good hormones do start to flow, and you just, you know, it's like a good cry or a good laugh. Helps you in the moment. So that was really good. And the big thing is, it's one thing to write and or talk to someone and say, oh, things will get better, and, you know, I know everything fell apart, but you can put it back together again. But you know what? You really can't. And I know that this is really prosaic and this is a cliche, but I always think of it as you know, a mosaic. And I know I teach, and I teach adults now, but I had taught children for a little while. And there was a lesson that was very popular, and it's probably, you've seen it on the internet, you know, or on Facebook or somewhere. But a lot of teachers were using it to help reinforce to children how their words and actions have consequences.
Sure.
And it was the broken plate, that you take a plate and throw it on the floor. What happens? It breaks into a million pieces. Can you put it back together? Yes. But is it the same plate? No.
Right. Sure.
So you can fix things, but it's not, just like you said, it's not the same river. It's not the same plate. And so the point that the teachers were trying to make was, be careful what you try, not to throw plates on the floor, because it's never going to be the same. But I see the other side of the plate. That is, you can recreate a mosaic, and it's not the same plate, but that's okay. That plate's gone. And you get to rearrange the pieces where you want them. You can discard the pieces you don't want.
Yeah.
And you can make a whole beautiful new mosaic out of it. And the best example I have of this, and especially top of the mind, is this amazing blended family that I have.
Yeah.
I felt like I had lost everything. You know, my whole extended family on my ex-husband's side was very close to them. And we did many things together. They dropped, you know, no, that was all gone. But I now have 2 amazing sons and daughters-in-law, and a son-in-law, and grandchildren. And when we're all together, it's as if my all 3 of the kids were hatched together. And I call them the babies, but they're, you know, 3 and 4 years old. They're cousins as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
And that, wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing gift, though,
Sure.
that I got.
I have had that too. I've been very lucky
Yeah.
with the family that came to me with my wife. I've been
Uh-huh.
very
And
very
they
lucky.
accepted you?
Yeah, it took a while. I kind of have to grow on people. I'm kind of like,
Well, you know what you are, Bill? You're that cousin that was once removed but grew back.
yes,
So kinda like mold.
yeah, or the bad check, right? The bad
Yeah,
check always comes
it
back.
comes back.
It always
Right,
comes back.
right.
um, you talk about your writing, and I often ask humor writers this. The art of writing humor can sometimes be a little touchy, and especially in your case, because you take these chaotic experiences, and some of them are tragic, and you wring humor out of them.
Mm,
That can be tricky because not always the reader doesn't always see the humor in that coming
mhm,
out.
mhm.
So how do you kind of, I guess, plan your attack so that your content, that's the word now. We don't write
Right.
material, we write content.
Content, yes. I
Content, yes.
provide content.
Yes, we provide content. How do you make sure your content hits the mark when you're trying to wring humor out of a bad
Yeah,
situation?
and you're absolutely right that that can be kind of a tricky thing to balance and to, navigate. And, well, I think if you write, just flat out say, "Hey, this is a funny part," that will help. No. That always helps. Um, you know, for me, a couple things that are important for me. If I'm going to make a joke, I like to make it about myself.
Right.
Um, and I like to let you see the twisted thinking that's going on and convoluted thinking and
Sure.
reasoning. And so a lot of the times, and I'm very honest, in this book. Some people say, "Oh
Mhm.
my God, you were so honest and raw and transparent." But yeah, I know. That's something I've had to learn through life to be a little more circumspect, but not in
Sure.
something like this. But I will never tell another person's story that's not mine to tell.
Right.
Even if I will say, this is what happened, and these are the facts. This person said this and did this. And maybe I know more about the why and the background, but that's not my story to
Right.
tell. So I'm very careful not to try, I don't want to embarrass or ridicule or offend anybody because that doesn't help. I don't want to offend a person. I don't want to offend a group. You don't want to be so mediocre or
Yeah. Yeah.
lukewarm that there's not any real meat there, but at the same time you cannot reach people if you're and it would be inadvertent in my case of offending someone, so
Sure.
that would never be my intention. So I think that sometimes it's just looking back on it.
Mhm.
So you tell what happened, and then your perspective now, and to tell people, the readers, the way you're treating it, and the joke, even if it's dark, a little bit
Yeah.
dark humor, you're giving them permission because maybe they're reading it and they're going, "Oh my gosh, but it's almost kind of funny, but I don't like. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I can't believe he said that to you." It's okay to laugh with me. I'm
Yeah.
giving you permission because I'm laughing at it now
Yeah.
too. I
Sure.
see. No, at that moment, no, I was not. This, thus and such. You had 8 cents. Seriously, you had eight. Oh my God! But it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. You can laugh with me, laugh through me.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're in the midst of it, it's not funny to you, but you still need to laugh. So sometimes you can laugh in the midst of something because of something, or other times. I think about this a lot when my dad was in the process of passing away, and it would be a little heavy,
Yeah.
obviously a heavy
Sure.
time, and it came really fast. He was diagnosed in February, and he was gone in May.
Wow.
Um, but you can't stay in that heaviness. So sometimes you're certainly not laughing about that, but you step away from it and you read something funny that's totally unrelated to what you're going through, just to discharge and relieve
Yeah.
some of that pressure. So there's that kind of use for humor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew that when I did stand up self-deprecation, or
Oh,
like you said, talking about personal experiences,
uh,
you could get away with a lot.
exactly.
But you point that at somebody else, and the audience would hate you for it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. That's very true. You talk a lot about resilience. It's a word that comes up, especially during these times. It's still very uncertain. And I got to tell you, I've been around a little while, and some presidents, some things I've liked more than others. Certain political climates.
I'm biting my tongue really hard.
But recently, this is the first time in my life when I really don't have a lot of confidence in the right people being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to worry about, and
all over the internationally, nationally,
the world,
economically, health, societally, everything. Yes.
So you talk about resilience. How important is humor during these times, and how important is resilience during these times, and how do you use humor to bolster that for yourself? How can you make yourself laugh at something that normally would scare you?
Exactly. Maybe this is talk about resilience. This is, I mean, we don't have a lot of choice right now.
Sure.
We're either going to, absolutely give up and, fade away somewhere, or we're going to have to find a way to cope with, because I am sure, like, my goodness, my parents lived through, the Depression and World War II. My grandparents, all four of my grandparents were immigrants to this country in the right after the turn of the 20th century, so the very, very early 1908, 1910.
Sure.
And my father's parents lost everything when the banks failed.
Yeah.
And they had to start all over again. Again. And so, they went through the Depression, they went through World War II, not knowing if your husband's going to come home, all of that. So it's not like people haven't gone through difficult times before. And it's not as if people haven't thought, this is the end of the world, this is a new normal. But there really does seem to be something new about this new normal. I mean, again, maybe we're just, self-absorbed. It seems that way to us because baby boomers, everything, we thought it was our birthright. Everything would always be bigger, better, faster, and that's not happening now, or things are catching up with us. Environmentally, financially, whatever, that our plans were not well made or well thought out.
Right.
So I think there does seem to be a greater sense of urgency, and the fear factor is there's some real thing. It's not theoretical anymore.
No,
people have died. People are dying. Things are happening. So I think this might be one of those times when you're not necessarily able to laugh at what's happening. So you need to, but you can't dwell on it 24 hours a day. No. And my husband takes my phone away from me at night because I get myself so upset and worked up. I was up all night the other night just worrying about my grandchildren, what would happen if they got COVID. So you find something else. So you know what you do, Billy? You pick up my book before this one, Light, Wines, and Laughter. You read something, or you watch an old TV show, you watch a movie. And, sometimes we feel guilty doing that because you're like, oh my God, the world is falling apart, going to hell in a handbasket. People are suffering, dying, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here watching, a rerun of Friends or, whatever.
Sure.
That's okay. That's okay. You need that. You need that release. You need something to take your mind off of it. And then you can come back. A lot of times you have a better perspective or a fresher perspective. It's 24, and now, we between social media and 24-hour, news stations, and if we wanted to, you could absolutely just bury yourself in horrible things. So you don't want to deny, be a Pollyanna. Oh, everything's fine. No, there are real things going on. But at the same time, you need some balance in your life. And maybe it's, for, going for a walk, or maybe it's eating, a piece of birthday cake. I'm waiting. Or laugh, the laughter, or watching something, reading something totally unrelated that takes your mind away from it. But I think you were talking to Dave Jaffe a couple weeks ago, and Dave and I are kind of writing partners. And I don't know if you know this, but we really want to come on your show together and talk about humor.
We're supposed to do that.
We got to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Dave is possibly, I always say, one of the funniest man alive, and he really even looks alive most days.
Yeah.
But I know, but he's also very wise, which is shocking. So we were talking about that this past year for humor writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not easy. But at the
Sure.
same time, even mental health professionals telling us it's really vital. You've got to find some way to lighten up a little bit,
Yeah.
even just for a little while, because it's really important to your mental well-being, your emotional
Yeah.
well-being, and your physical
Mhm.
well-being.
Yeah, we call them wellness breaks, and
Yeah.
they're very important. And a lot of times, even when you're at work, and even if you can't get away, sometimes to just go sit in your car, listen to your favorite song, just take a moment and regroup, so to speak.
Exactly.
That can be very, very important.
Very.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and so
Essential. I mean,
yes,
sometimes that's what gets you through. I can remember days at work when all the shock and awfulness going on. And it's so funny you say that, because I would go out and sit in my car for like 15 minutes during lunch, and people say, "Oh,
sure,
why don't you come and sit with us?" Because I'm very outgoing, very
sure,
extrovert, but I also need to have my quiet, alone
yep,
time. And that was like my sanity break, to just go
uh,
sit in my car and, like you said, listen to some song and just think, okay, I can do this. I can
yep,
do this. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. And boy, it's really vital right now.
yeah.
Absolutely vital.
Yeah, a couple of my friends would always suggest too, if you can, to take a walk in nature,
Nature.
and
Oh,
not have music, everything.
nothing.
Just
Nothing.
take a
Yeah.
nice walk and
Yeah.
enjoy the birds chirping and the wind blowing
Exactly.
in the leaves. It
Now,
can
if
be
you're
so
here
important.
in North Georgia, you don't want to go where the bears have been coming in
No.
closer and closer. But and water. I think water's very relaxing and
Yes.
healing property. Whether it's a little lake, a pond, whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that helps a lot. Yeah,
Sure.
getting outside, sunshine, air, um, your
Very
animal,
important.
your
Yeah.
your kitty cat Dexter, my
Yeah.
boy Harper. Those things so important.
Yes. And they mean a lot more than a lot of people understand.
Oh, no
Um,
kidding.
what would be, I always try to wrap things
Is
up
this
on,
hard? Okay,
yeah,
go
it's
ahead.
kind of hard. It's
All
kind of hard.
right. I study for personality tests, so
Oh, okay. Well,
okay.
here you go. A lot of people are going through a tough time these days.
Mhm.
The masks themselves, no matter what side of that, I don't know how it became a political issue, but it did. No matter what side
Probably
of that
both.
you're on, a lot of people are stressed by them. A lot of people who may have compromised
Breathing.
immune systems,
Oh,
when,
yeah.
when they go somewhere and people aren't wearing a mask because you don't have to wear them there, that can be very
Mm.
upsetting. And we could
Mhm.
go on down the list. There's a lot to
Right.
be, whether it's the economy or what it is.
Right.
Or sometimes people are going through a personal tough time.
Right.
You have done that. What would be your message of hope?
I don't have any. No.
I told you it's tough.
I know you told me to think about this. No, I think that it's really pretty much everything that I think that you have to focus
Mhm.
on, and I know I'm not the only person to say this, but I have it's not academic or intellectual knowledge, it's really experiential. You must focus on what you can control
Yeah.
and try to control that, and try to let some things go if they're not critical. That
Right.
doesn't mean you don't care about bigger issues. But the other thing is, it's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
You can only do so much at a time. And for me, everything was huge. I mean, total, but I couldn't fix everything. And it was, okay, today, really as simple as putting one foot in front of the other, and what do I need to do today,
Yeah.
that's going to help me today, that maybe will have some benefit for the future, and how can I find some peace in today? So I think it's just little by little making the changes and improvements that you can in your own way,
Yeah.
in the ways that you can control, and some things you have to let go.
Yeah.
And like you and I said, and finding
Yeah.
some balance,
Yeah.
which is not easy.
No, it's not.
Now, some days it is, and some days it's not, but it's
Yeah.
okay, because the next day you're going to come back around.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, somebody is going to say something that's going to help you. Something is going to happen that's going to help you. And it doesn't matter how small it is. Don't discount it. I tell people, get up, make a list of everything good. It doesn't matter how small it is. I like, my hair looked nice today. I found my keys. I don't care how small, because those negatives can look so overwhelming. You need to start drilling down on the positives and try to focus on that and create more of that in your life.
Yep. And get your rest. It's so much easier to cope with things when you get your rest. You got some great information. Obviously, you're a humor writer. You got a quick wit. You have a lot of good.
It's getting slower.
I understand. You have a lot of positive philosophies. Where can people find you online?
Okay, I am right in the midst of having my website that is, like me, horribly out of date. We're all getting older, but it is still up. But it's really doesn't even have all of my books and stuff on. But LeeGaitan.com, LeeGaitan, LeeGaitan.com is my website. And then if you're interested in the books, just go to Amazon and Google My Pineapples Went to Houston, or Light Wines and Laughter. And if you're looking at My Pineapples Went to Houston, make sure it's the one that on the front says second edition. That's the one that should come up, but sometimes the old one will pop up as well, even though we tried to get rid of that. But there may be a third-party seller that still has some of those. So Amazon for the books, or Google my name, Lee Gaitan, and LeeGaitan.com for information, about me, speaking, whatever. And I'm on, and Facebook is My Pineapples Went to Houston.
Pineapples Went to Okay. Let me read the title. Now, don't forget, this is the second edition with new material added. The title of the book, My Pineapples Went to Houston, Finding the Humor in My Dashed Hopes, Broken Dreams, and Plans Gone Outrageously Awry. Author Lee Gaitan.
I should tell you real quick. I'm sorry, so sorry. I just want to say that the first edition was an Amazon #1 bestseller.
Oh, wow.
We're not allowed to say that on the book cover. Amazon won't let you say that, but it was. So, which is, great, wonderful. But make sure you get the second edition so you get the whole story.
All right. Lee, as always, great talking to you. You always provide a lift. You always provide a smile. And I know people get that from your material as well. You got to check out some of Lee's work. You can find her online. Check out her book on Amazon. Thank you very much, Lee, for being with us here today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Billy. So great to see you. And give your Dexter boy an extra scratch for me.
I sure will. And he loves attention, so he'll love that.
I love it.
Also, I want to remind the audience to check out the fine people at HumorOutcasts.com. And like I said, new content posted pretty much every day, and all kinds of humor. Some of it's silly, some of it's political. So it just depends on what day you hit it. But new content posted pretty much every day. We always want to shout out to Donna Kavanaugh. And like I said, that HumorOutcast.com, there's an umbrella of publishing houses under that, including HO Press, Shore House Books, Corner Office Books, and probably some others as well. Great place if you love reading and you love humor. HumorOutcast.com, great place to visit. Our guest, Lee Gaitan, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Billy. Bye.
Bye. I'm Billy Dees, and we'll talk to you again very soon.